जो तूफानों में पलते जा रहे हैं वही तो दुनिया बदलते जा रहे हैं. Namaskar, welcome to PT Pointers, and in this video we are going to cover major headlines of the Hindu, Indian Express and Press Information Bureau. So without wasting any time, let's start today's discussion, and our first headline is related to world's first vaccine for chikungunya, जिसको रिसेंटली अप्रूव किया गया है फूड एंड ड्रग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के द्वारा. एंड अगर हम चिकनगुनिया की बात करें तो इट कॉजेज फीवर एंड सीवियर जॉइंट पेन and it is prevalent in Africa, Asia and Americas, but now it has spread to new geographical areas and it is transmitted primarily by the Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus mosquitoes. Our next headline is related to ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, which is a platform to strengthen security and defense cooperation for 10 ASEAN member states and their 8 dialogue partners like India, Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, Republic of Korea, Russia and the United States, which are collectively known as the Plus countries. And do you know, friends, India became an ASEAN dialogue partner in 1992 and the inaugural ADMM Plus was convened in 2010. And at the recent meeting, it is highlighted that India is committed to the freedom of navigation, overflight and unimpeded lawful commerce in international waters and supports the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Our next headline is related to Windfall tax, जिसको भारत में इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था 2022 में, and they are designed to tax the profits a company derives from an external, sometime unprecedented event. For instance, the energy price rise as a result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In other words, we can say these are profits that cannot be attributed to something the firm actively did, like an investment strategy or an expansion of business. And do you know, friends, 𝐏𝐏 𝐏𝐲 Committee's report on financial position of oil companies 2008 had stated that taxing of these windfall gains has been seen as prerogative of the governments. Our next headline is related to Global South Summit and it is in the news because India will host the second Voice of Global South Summit and it will focus on sharing with countries of Global South the key outcomes achieved in various G20 meetings over the course of India's presidency. And the first edition of the Voice of Global South Summit was hosted by India in virtual format in the month of January 2023. It brought together 125 countries of the Global South to share their perspectives and priorities on a common platform. And do you know, friends, Global North refers loosely to countries like US, Canada, Russia and Australia, while Global South includes countries in Asia, Africa and South America. Now recently, Reserve Bank of India increased the risk weights on the exposure of banks to customer credit, credit card receivables and non-banking finance companies by 25 percentage points. Now what is risk weight? So friends, it refers to the capital banks keep aside as provisioning to cover any loan defaults, and the latest move of the RBI is expected to dissuade banks from targeting high growth in these sectors as it will become costlier for banks to maintain high credit growth. Our next headline is related to adultery and it is in the news because recently Parliamentary Committee on Home Affairs has suggested that adultery should be reinstituted as a crime in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, which is proposed to replace the Indian Penal Code 1860. And do you know, friends, Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code defines adultery and says that a man could be punished up to 5 years in jail if he has sexual intercourse with another man's wife. However, only men could be punished under Section 497, not women. But in 2018, Supreme Court struck down Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code on grounds that included discrimination. Our next headline is related to hallucinate, and it is in the news because recently Cambridge Dictionary has announced hallucinate as its word of the year 2023 due to surge in interest in generative artificial intelligence. And do you know, friends, traditional definition of hallucinate is to seem to see, hear, feel or smell something that does not exist, but new additional definition is when an artificial intelligence hallucinates, it produces false information. Our next headline is related to Amini, which is an Arnala class of ship for the Indian Navy and इसको recently launch किया गया है in Tamil Nadu. It is designed to undertake anti-submarine operations in coastal waters and also low-intensity maritime operations and mine-laying operations. It has been named Amini to signify the strategic maritime importance accorded to the island of Amini, जो कि लक्षद्वीप में है. And ये 400 किलोमीटर है वेस्ट ऑफ कोची. Our next headline is related to exercise मित्र शक्ति, जिसकी शुरुआत recently हो चुकी है. It is conducted annually as part of military diplomacy and interaction between armies of India and Sri Lanka. Our next headline is related to fisheries sector, which is considered as sunrise sector and has immense potential for bringing equitable and inclusive growth by economic empowerment of the weaker sections of the society. And do you know, friends, with 8% share in global fish production, India is the third largest fish producer, second largest aquaculture producer and largest shrimp producer, and fourth largest seafood exporter in the world. Our next and last headline is related to CITIIS 2.0, जिसको अप्रूव किया गया था यूनियन कैबिनेट के द्वारा इन मई 2023 एंड सिटीज 2.0 चैलेंज को लॉन्च किया गया है रिसेंटली यूनियन मिनिस्टर के द्वारा. सिटीज 2.0 इज द सेकंड फेज ऑफ द सिटी इन्वेस्टमेंट टू इनोवेट, इंटीग्रेट एंड सस्टेन प्रोग्राम एंड इट हैज बीन कंसीव्ड बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हाउसिंग एंड अर्बन अफेयर्स इन कोलैबोरेशन with the French Development Agency, KWF Development Bank, European Union and National Institute of Urban Affairs. It is aimed to drive investments into urban climate action through competitively selected projects, promoting a circular economy with focus on integrated waste management. So with this, let's conclude our today's discussion. Thanks for listening, and for regular updates, you can follow us on various social media platforms.